It's finally here. It's finally here, everyone. It's week one of the 2023 USFL season, especially for our Maulers. We play late Sunday. We're the last game of the week. He saved the best to laugh. Best for last, excuse me. I'm so excited. I'm stumbling over my own tongue. Week one. It's at the Breakers in Birmingham. We traveled down from Canton down to Birmingham to take on John D. Filippo's new look New Orleans Breakers. Fedora's gone, so it's a different looking team, especially on offense. On defense, you got Tenuta still on as the defense coordinator, and a lot of familiar faces, especially in the linebackers and some in the secondary. Wide receivers, we'll get more into it as we move on. But it's game week. It's the most exciting time of the season because everyone's 0-0. Revenge tour starts this week. Real quick camp review. We added Traquan Dorsey, Myron Cunningham, offensive lineman, CJ Turner, Mark Gilbert, Riley Lovingood was long snappers. And as you know, the cuts were Chase 4K, Delvon Hardaway, Datrian Evans, Jerome Brown, Trajan Bandy, and I really noticed there is that they were always analyzing this roster. They were constructing it as much as they possibly could. And they adapted as camp went on. As you can see, we released some offensive linemen, got different offensive linemen. We released a wide receiver, got another wide receiver. I know we have a couple hurt with McCleskey and Bo Tanner, which made some of the cuts a little easier. And Level Tatum retired or stepped away from the game. Luke Barnes went on the suspension list or inactive list, whatever you want to call it now. They made the roster moves, and Lonnie Young and the coach staff, Ray Horton, Jaron Horton, Tomlinson, Mark Hull, all adapted as camp went on. I really, really like this team. All the additions seem to be guys that are hungry. And that's not to say the guys that moved on were not hungry, but it just seemed like good additions all the way through. You got college guys that just came out of college. They just finished up their college career from either southeastern Louisiana or St. Francis, Pennsylvania, or you got guys that spend time in the SEC and the NFL like Myron Cunningham. Mark Gilbert was with the Steelers and the Lions the last couple of years, and Riley Lovingood was a long snapper for the University of Tennessee. All the additions seem to be good additions with an eye looking forward toward the future. So it's week one. We're excited about that. You know, we're playing the Breakers, the Maulers. These Breakers are different. These are not your Larry Fedora Breakers. These are definitely not the Breakers that you want to watch. I mean, that you just got accustomed to last year if you watch the USFL. These two guys are big names. One's a returner, and another one is a brand new face. We're going to start with defensive tackle Reggie Howard. If you remember, to new to defense, they pressured the quarterback and they got after, especially from the defensive line position. Reggie Howard is one of those guys coming back. I look forward to him take a step forward. He's got to fill in for Shakir Soto and Devin Bellamy, and him with Henri Senamore should be a very tough challenge for the Maulers offensive line. Of course, on the quarterback, McLeod Bethel Thompson, the law firm I'm calling him, the veteran quarterback, won the CFL Grade Cup with the Argos this past year. Has some familiarity with DiFilippo throughout his football journey and DiFilippo's football journey. They're going to be a pass offense. It's not going to be so college-y, gimmicky. It's going to be a little bit more formal as like pro football. They're not going to use scat backs as much as Fedora did with TJ Logan and so forth. They still have great weapons on the outside, and we'll get into it in a little bit. The hammer finder of the week, guys, I want to see big games from Hunter Rison, big play guy. He's going to be that third, fourth, maybe fifth receiver, but when he gets the opportunities, especially in week one, he's got to make plays. If you watched any of his highlight film, you definitely know that he can make plays. If you saw anything from the camp, the dude's got great hands, great genes too, right? Andre Rison, the NFL great, is his dad. I really expect Hunter Rison to develop into a larger and larger role as the season goes on. Defensive line, Vaughn Taylor. Junior, we need a Carlo Kemp replacement, and he might be the guy. Uh, it's not 100% sure, but Vaughn Taylor looks kind of that build. He's a big guy, high motor, pass edge rusher. Everything I've heard from either players or coaches is that he had a pretty good camp. So I look forward to seeing Vaughn Taylor take the next step. And of course, James Morgan. James Morgan was announced today that he was going to be the QB1. It's not to say that he'll be the only QB that plays on Sunday, but he will be the QB1 with the first snaps. Morgan comes from the NFL pedigree, and if you watched the Maulers last year, you know that the quarterback was the biggest opportunity for growth out of the entire roster, and Morgan is definitely one of those guys. It needs to be that guy. For the Maulers to have a successful season, I know teams won with two quarterbacks. You're talking about the Jamar and the Alex Magoo, and then you got the Scott Cookis kind of dynamic. But if you look at New Orleans, who went 6-4 and were pretty competitive, they had an injured Kyle Sloter that put up numbers, but they had a consistent quarterback. Same thing with Tiamu with Tampa, now Memphis. We got to. I believe that the Maulers got to settle on one, and if you're going to use a second one, then it has to kind of be similar, even though it's different. If that makes sense, they got to be able to run similar offense concepts for that two systems two quarterback system to work perfectly. I look forward to it. I want to see what Morgan could do. He comes with a big reputation. You know, he was in the NFL with the Cardinals this fall. After he signed with the Maulers, he went to the Cardinals, and then the Maulers re-signed him when the Cardinals didn't offer him a futures contract. So he's got the NFL pedigree. He's on that cusp. I would love to see him have a breakout season. My keys to the game, it's really simple. It's week 1, so you really don't know what's going on. 100%. Everything in the scrimmages, was very vanilla. I'm guessing coaches aren't going to show their hands before they have to. But that first picture is drums, rhythm. The offense needs to find a rhythm. If it's Morgan, if it's Williams, if it's either or, the offense has to find a rhythm as a unit. It never really did last year, except maybe that Gamblers game and maybe one of the Star games. The offense has to find consistency, and they need to mix the running and the passing. We need to see Madre London have a pretty good game, and Garrett Groshek and Dwayne Gary, who's everybody's sleeping on. I'm just letting you know now. But we need that rhythm on offense. Tenuta's defense seems to have that gap in between the front line and that defense. If you watch the Breakers, some of their faults were finding the space after you get through that front line and before the corners are out there. Basically, linebackers. Their linebackers are solid, but they do a different role, and they give up those middle gains. And maybe Morgan can start, nitpicking away if Tenuta comes out looking the same way, and get in a rhythm with Matty Siebert and Artavius Lynn, and maybe Gary coming out of the backfield, or Isaiah Henney underneath. It's there. It should be there if Tenuta runs a defense the same way that he's always run. And, Tenuta, he's kind of run that defense for a while. We need to see Madre on offense. We need Madre. I really believe that if the Maulers have a good chance of winning this, it has to come from Madre having 75 yards. He's got to have 75 yards for this offense to move. And that could be total offense. I'm okay with that, but Madre's got to get the ball in his hand. That second picture is pressure. MBT is known not to have the greatest wheels. He's an older quarterback. I believe he's the oldest player in the league. That front 4, 3, 5, however many are sent, needs to put pressure on MBT, make him feel uncomfortable. He's in a new system. Everyone's in a new system, I guess, but the defensive line needs to make MBT feel uncomfortable at every single every single opportunity. If we can get Vaughn Taylor, and that's the reason why he was the hammer finder of the week. If we can get Vaughn Taylor to, just hit him, just put that pressure from the outside, just to make him feel a little uncomfortable and rush, I think we have a very good shot of winning this game. That third one is find him, the magnifying glass. We got to find and keep Jay Adams and Johnny Dixon in check. Adams had 2 catches for 16 yards last year when the Maulers played the Breakers. The Maulers lost 26-16. But if you look at it, the defense played all right. They gave a bunch of rushing yards, I believe it was to Anthony Jones. But they need to be able to contain. DeFilippo is going to run a different offense, and they're going to pass a lot. So the corners are up to a big challenge. Like, they've got to take care of Johnny Dixon and Jay Adams and with the pressure from the previous picture, you really could settle into a game where you're just pinning your ears back and they got to throw the ball, and the corners play solid and play good coverage, while a guy like Vaughn Taylor or Savion Williams or Beckner are hitting MBT and getting to the quarterback. There's no reason why the Maulers can't win this game. So the picks of the week, I'm picking 23-20 Maulers. Of course, I'm going to roll with the Maulers. I've been following them for a long time, but I really think this is a great time to catch the Breakers because their offense isn't 100% yet. I really think it's going to be a close game. The over and under is 37.5 points. I have a feeling it's going to go higher. DeFilippo wants to score. The Maulers' offense is different, has a different look than last year. It really has a different feel with Tomlinson taking control on the offensive side of the ball. The Maulers are a 3.5 point underdog. It's a road game, technically, right? There's probably not going to be a ton of fans there. I hope to see more than last year when it wasn't the Stallions. It's a Sunday late game. I feel like it's a great opportunity. You get the Birmingham game out of the way right off the bat, which is the hot weather. You're not playing in Birmingham in June when everyone else is. You get this game out of the way. The only time you got to go to Birmingham, I think it's a perfect time. DeFilippo is not 100% settled in. The Maulers do, and yes, I know they were 1-9 last year, but the Maulers do have continuity on that defensive side. The only position I would say that doesn't look like it's where there's no continuity is definitely the quarterback, and that's not to say that he can't settle in real quick and get it going. But the wide receivers, you got Trey, you got Bailey, and you got Isaiah, and all the new guys, they should be able to settle in. Siebert and Artavius Lynn are coming back. The offensive line, a lot of it's coming back. Running backs, you got Madre and Groshek, and then you add the new guy, Dwayne Gary, and all of a sudden now the offense looks potent. As long as we settle in on that quarterback, and Morgan seems to be the guy, and so we've got to trust that. Troy's going to come out and probably be a little bit more mobile. Excuse me. And I'm really excited to see what the offense looks like. That's going to be the biggest difference. The defense, it's really filling in the Carlo Kemp and finding out the corners. You got Tornin and Tarp. You got to believe that Foster is going to be ready to go in this league as a linebacker. You've got guys like Malcolm Howard, like Dale Warren. I think the linebackers are going to be settled in. And then the defensive line, you've got the veterans like Boogie and Olive coming back with Horton's defense. And then you add guys like Savion Williams, who kind of fits that mold, a bigger guy with high motor, and Vaughn Taylor. They've got to fill in that gap for Carlo Kemp in the 2 corners, but I think the defense is going to be fine. Personal note, this past week, I spent a couple days with Ace and Lowe up in Canton. We got to talk with the Maulers. It was a great experience as a fan of sports and a guy that does this. This is my passion, really. The Pittsburgh Maulers are my favorite sports team. I'm not afraid to say that. I'm probably the only person in the world outside of the players and families that say that, but this is my team. This is my jam. And just a couple of pictures from the trip. One of the highlights was definitely meeting Toby Johnson from the Generals, as well as you can see in the smaller picture in the top right with Ace and Lowe. And of course, Boogie, the first day we were there at practice, Boogie's like, Webb, come on, defensive line, let's go. And as you see, the defensive line jumped right in. So that wraps up week 1 of Dinner Time with Webb during the season. New episodes come out every Wednesday at 5 p.m. on the USFL network. Our new logo's there. As you can see, we're trying to get it fresh for you guys. You know, it's week 1, season 2. We're going to review the week that was for the Maulers against the Breakers, and then we look forward to the rivalry game. I know it's one of those games where the team was 9-1, the Generals, and the Maulers were 1-9, but I feel like there's a rivalry building with this, and I look forward to it. But it's hammer down, hammer time, hammer out, Web out.